Welcome and thank you for choosing True Grit, the show about what it really takes to rise, rebuild, and stay the course when life hits hard. I'm Cleesh Morrow, a coach, storyteller, and believer in the kind of strength you can't fake. Around here, we talk about real people, real stories, and the lessons that shape us, from resilience and mindset to health and healing, because grit isn't about grinding harder, it's about who you become when you don't quit. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to True Grit Podcast. And I have a special guest on today. Her name is Ashley Meert. She is the founder and a coach of Nutrition Fueled, and her journey spans everywhere from being overweight to underweight, corporate burnout to wellness professional now. And her journey, we'll be getting into that of like finding her why and the self-reflection that has led her onto this path of making really meaningful, sustainable impact on people's lives. And again, I'm so excited to have you here, Ashley, and hear a lot more about your story and your journey and your approach and how you're just kicking ass in the nutrition and fitness industry.
Oh, hello, Kalish. It's great to be on. Great to see your face and be able to connect through this virtual platform here. I'm looking forward to it.
Right? Yeah. When we were off the air, we were just discussing how being able to do all these things virtually really, really broadens our reach. And I mean, I don't think that we would ever met if it weren't for the virtual platforms that we have both been on. And yeah, being able to just make this happen. I love it. Okay. So some things that I'm just dying to hear more about. And I guess like we should just start kind of at the beginning of what was going on in your life at the time that you decided that you wanted to pursue health and nutrition as a professional coach, and what took you down that path.
Yeah, so I guess just share a little bit about me, my journey, where I've come from, what I've done. So when we look way back, I had no dreams or thoughts of what I was going to be when I grew up. I thought, I'll be a mom, I'll hang out at home, I'll do whatever. As I continued to grow, I decided maybe I'll start working. So I went to college, got my business administration degree, figured I'm just going to find a company, I'm going to work with them, pretty much my whole entire career. So kicked off with that small company, worked my way progressively up to larger companies. The final company that I was with was a very large health insurance company. Was with them for about 5 years, I would say. During that time, I found the gym, learned the importance of nutrition on top of being in the gym, that they kind of work so closely together. I would go to the gym, but never see any change in the scale until eventually I started a little bit more of my holistic journey into health and wellness, which really is what led me to that nutrition piece and learning how important that was. So that was me kind of starting to see how they all came together. And that would have been back probably in 2011-ish that I really saw how those really came together. Fast forward a little bit, coming into that 2018 timeframe. At this point, I was in full-blown corporate America, large company. At this point in my life, I was starting to not have things as easy as they were at one time for me. Growing up, loving family, enjoyed hanging out with my family. They were the cornerstone of who I was, where I was. Lots of love there, all of those great things. 2018 hits, I'm married, and corporate America, I get a phone call middle of the night, probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, from the hospital across the street, letting me know that my husband is there and he is not able to come home, is in the bed in basically the psych area for evaluation and monitoring. He had walked himself over there after drinking a little bit. By a little bit, I mean quite a bit.
Oh boy.
So 2018, he's there. We start going through that journey. And then I'm still corporate America. At this point, we're creeping up onto that time that really influenced a lot of people in potentially their career journeys and where they're going to go. So at that point, I not loving going into work every day, not getting to go to work every day. So I started pursuing what would bring me into this health and wellness journey. I got my NASM certification, hung on with that for a little while, and then eventually I got my health coaching certification as well. So that's a very brief overview of where I've been, what I've done, some of the things that have come up in my life. That whole journey with my husband was very influential as far as determining the direction of my life and how we were going to move forward together and all of those things. We went through a whole line of treatment. I was by his side through the whole thing. Um, Due to the companies that we worked with, I was able to do a lot of guiding and facilitating for him through his journey. And then once he was able to come out of that and be his full, more realized self, it gave me that freedom to be able to look in at myself and understand a little bit more what was important to me and where I wanted to go with life. And that's this whole health wellness. Started with my own journey, finding how to improve my own health, and then the dream to bring that to other people and help them with it as well.
So it sounds like first of all, it's off to you. That's a difficult situation to be in, and to be able to stick in there and walk through that with him and ultimately give him the support, it sounds like, to come out the other end. And as what I know understand, like, it's still a process. It'll be a lifelong process, but obviously getting the tools to navigate these things when it comes up, triggers and all those things. But yeah, it's a long process, but most people won't have the grit and tenacity to stick in there with them. And again, like, just, I wanted to acknowledge that, and hats off to you, and applaud you and your husband for making that work. And it sounds like watching him go through that journey was a good wake up call for yourself as well. And again, with how you're going to approach it and then turn that into something else. And I find that is kind of like a common thread of, I've gone through this thing, so let me see how I can now give this gift of insight and wisdom and put it out there in the world and help other people that are in either similar situations or just going through their own journey. So again, like, that's it I find it so interesting that that's what we tend to do in this industry. And we also know some people who aren't always so pure in intent out there. I feel like we're on a mission out there of wanting to combat all the misinformation that we come across, because that does not help at all. So having more of us out here having the message that's going to be very sustainable and life changing. So yeah, I would actually love to get into that a little bit too. But what is your approach with people? How do you usually guide them through their health journey? What kind of clients do you normally take on? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, Kalish, that's a great area to start digging into a little bit deeper is how I interact and work with my clients.
Hmm.
I've heard from a variety of them that all my past trainers always train me how they want to be trained or how they've trained themselves and things like that. One thing I share with my clients all the time is my journey is not their journey. Hopefully, I can
Yeah.
take a little bit of what I've been through and not have to have them go through that same journey. During a period
Right.
of my journey, it was all of the hardcore cardio, seeing how sweaty I could be, how out of breath, how completely and utterly exhausted I would be after a workout. Looking back at those pictures, that is not the person that I wanted to be or that I even saw in the mirror when I was looking at it. So being able to take that experience of how I felt when I was going through that, how run down my body was, and what it was starting to express on the outside. I was starting to get excessive breakouts, just the sheer lack of anything, any muscle even on my body
Mm.
is just kind of eye opening when I look back at those pictures. So being able to take that experience along with the amount of time that I spent in a corporate setting, the amount of burnout that I would feel day in and day out during that time in history where we were all sent home to work, that disconnect from everybody, that just pushed me farther and farther into that hole of constantly working. It was there all the time, so I needed to be attentive to it. If anything came in, it was right there. So that really gave me that insight into how difficult it is for people to work from home even and have that constant reminder of this is right here, this is where you're constantly seeing different issues or whatever. I would just kind of feel that level of anxiety if I was to go by my computer or something like that. So I like to be
Mm-hmm.
able to bring that information to my clients and work with them through any struggles that they have with work as far as that excessive stress. And then we bring in not just a single piece for them. It needs to have more to do with that whole overall stress, the stress bucket, I like to call it, that we're filling up. And that includes the food that we're eating, the workouts that we're doing, and yes, that stress that you're encountering at work. That is all filling into that bucket, as well as what you're going home to day in and day out. So those are a lot of the things that I like to focus on with my clients. And then finding that exercise and workout routine that's so much more sustainable and long term, not just how hard can I beat up my body day in and day out and what kind of a sweat can I get, but what kind of muscle can I grow?
Yeah, and it's a great approach, and obviously, as you said, treating everybody as an individual rather than just putting them through a one size fits all cycle. Because I mean, I've got my husband who I have to get onto about going to the gym too often. He'd be like, "Ah, why am I so injured?" And it's like, okay, so but working with somebody like that, working on dialing them back. But then there's other people where you're like, "Come on, just go for a walk. Let's just go for a walk."
7,500 steps,
Right?
you
Just
know,
please.
let's target that. Are you at 3? Okay, let's go to 5.
Right, and
Finding those little
slowly
wins.
building it. Exactly, and yeah, I agree, there's still too many trainers out there that are doing more performative exercises, and then, of course, that makes it more difficult for coaches who know more sustainable, less performative, more functional exercises. So when we talk about functional, we're talking about squats where you can get in and out of a chair. You're talking about deadlifts because you're picking things up off the floor. Like it's not just because, oh, I'm going to put a heavy barbell on my back and try to look really cool. Like, no, these are things for everyday life. So finding coaches that will do that, this is why so many people, and I'm curious if you see the same thing, so many people just think that a trainer is a trainer. They might know that some are good and some aren't and whatever, but I think that a lot of them, they assume that all personal trainers are just going to make them go and do like the circuit type training, going to put them on restrictive diets. I've been out with friends of mine who were clients and they're like, don't look at me, I'm getting the dessert. And I'm like, you just had a big old piece of chicken. You can have the dessert.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're trying to re-educate clients and just put it out there to our friends and family even so they have a better understanding.
I love you going into that the nutrition piece of it. Everybody's always like, "Oh, don't look at me when we're out." And it's like, it's not about this one moment that you're having this piece of cheesecake or whatever it is that you enjoy. It's the bigger picture. It's looking at what you're doing day in and day out. Are you getting in your protein? Are you eating, are you getting your vegetables? Are you eating fruit with it? Or are
Mhm.
you getting the chips and the cookies and the things that are in those packaged, heavily processed things? One of my favorite things is when clients will change how they're eating. So they'll go to that whole food style diet
Mhm.
and then they'll be like, they're out with their friends or somebody wants to grab a fast food meal somewhere. And they're like, I just felt so awful. Like my stomach just hurt afterwards. I'm like, yeah, now we know though. Like
Right.
sometimes you don't realize that what changes you're making, how your body's actually responding to them until you go back to those old habits. So that's always eye-opening for everybody.
Yeah, it's interesting how long our bodies will tolerate the bad nutrition, and I mean, there might be that general. Sorry, my husband has been stuck on the word malaise for a while. He was sick recently, and I was just like, "How you feel?" And he's like, "I'm okay. I just a general malaise." So it's become this word. The things
Hmm.
I live with, but yeah, I think it's a good term. It's just like this general malaise of the bad nutrition, and you get accustomed to it, and it is interesting how much the body will reject that though, like pretty violently if you get on a really good diet for a while. And I feel like it kind of actually helps us coach. Not that I want anybody to feel sick, but at least they are very hyper aware of just how bad the foods are for them and what it had been doing to their body long term. I mean, basically, they worked up a tolerance for a while, and now they're intolerant of intolerable food.
Right?
And to kind of go back to what you're talking about with the stress management, I definitely have found that if I have a weekend where my nutrition's off a little bit, or I mean, I live in the South and there's a lot of times where I order something and it shows up and it's fried, and I'm like, I didn't think my steak was going to showing up fried.
We just fry it
Uh,
all. It all gets fried.
I know. Anyway, it's hit and miss sometimes. You'd think I had learned by now, but yeah, the next day I will just feel unmotivated, just lackadaisical. My energy's lower. And I think that, yeah, it takes that reset of going through a better nutrition regimen to help you realize just how badly it is. And then how much stress that does put on the body as it's processing that. And then as well, like the fitness, I know I've talked to some people before and they would do the same thing, that the cardio, let me just do cardio, or they're doing the cardio with weights, and they are just under so much stress. And I'm telling them, you're just adding more stress with the cardio. Weightlifting, yeah, we'll go ahead and it's a good stress on the body, but it's not spiking the cortisol levels like you doing the excessive cardio will do. You have to do that in a smart way. But I'm glad that you'd brought that up, and just like how that does affect the bucket, that just more things going in the bucket. But they don't realize that because those are things that they think is supposed to be healthful for them.
And you get that, like you said, that cortisol like injection. So it's like, but I feel so great after I'm done. But do you?
They don't.
You know, that's another one of my favorite things. I'll put clients on like a strength phase in their workout. So they'll be lifting heavier weights and they're like, do I need to be doing more cardio? I'm like, just give me a second. We'll hit that in a little bit. But so they'll be doing their strength phase of their workouts. And then, 4 weeks or whatever later, we'll hit one that's a little bit more cardio focused. They're like, can we just go back to the heavy weights again? I'm like, but you were asking for this like 2 weeks ago. We're still doing weights. We
Mhm.
just have to now do 12 to 15 reps instead of 5.
Right. And I don't think that many people realize that, and just how high your heart rate does get with weight training. Mike Ripito will always be on about that as well, just talking about how like it raises your heart rate. You put some really heavy sets on your back, you are going to be huffing and puffing. Like, it gets it up there. It's just in a very different way, but a very impactful way. And that's why we laugh. Like, we don't really do much cardio in my house. It's a bad word. I mean, we say that loosely. There's benefits, obviously.
I I hit my 7,500 steps every day. I go for a morning walk. It's one of my favorite things every morning, regardless of what it's doing, rain or shine. I live in Arizona, so mostly
Mm-hmm.
shine.
Yes.
But I love getting out for my morning walk. Every once in a while, I'll see neighbors out, say hi, gives some of that other, community feel, which is also so important for our overall mental health.
I wanted to ask you kind of your approach to with clients. I have found, and I've been changing my tactics a little bit around when I first bring somebody on, even though I would still be just slowly stacking habits. We know to do that, just slowly, not overwhelm them. But I was still finding that even with that approach, they would focus too much on the workouts. Like, those are things that they would, not too much, but I mean, that those are the things that they would be consistent on, but the nutrition would just still fall apart. Like, I could not get them to stick with that part. Now, to change that up, I'm actually wanting to have them just focus on the nutrition part, maybe get the steps in for like those first weeks or so before starting to add in a workout phase to that. I mean, depending on their levels and stuff, obviously. But like, what has been your experience then with that, with clients surrounding their fitness and nutrition, and what seems to have worked best for you guys?
Kalisha, I actually really like this question. So when I was going through my nutrition coaching certification, as I was going through the final testing phase, we got to meet with our advisors and things like that. And one of the questions she asked me was, what's more important to you as I'm trying to decide what I want to do with my life? What's more important? Is it going to be the workouts, like the fitness part of it, or is it the nutrition? In my world, it felt like I paused for about 5 minutes. It was probably only maybe like 30 seconds, but I sat and pondered it for just, whatever amount of time. And I'm like putting these things back and forth. I'm like, well, but if it's this and then that, I'm like, I can't separate them.
Mhm.
Like to be well-rounded and healthy, you need both of them. But
Right.
it's a matter of when and how they're pulled in. Like you
Ooh,
said,
that's a good way of putting it. That's a really good way
if
of putting it.
somebody's only focused on their workouts but no focus on their nutrition, yes, you're getting benefits and you're healthier than doing neither. But you're not gonna see those bigger changes that we're all looking for without some sort of incorporation of both of them. It's gonna be a matter of that balance. So if somebody comes to me and they have nothing with nutrition, it's a matter of, do we look at even their hydration? So that's another big area that I like to focus on with clients, is how much water, not just water, but how much water with that like electrolytes in it, because
Yeah.
that's going to be so important for them to be able to utilize the water that they're taking in, getting it into your cells, into your muscles, all of those types of things. So it's finding what little wins in the different areas that we can stack together so that we are still looking at both without hyper focusing maybe on just one. And if it's the workout side, either we can look at steps to start incorporating those, or another one of my favorite things is I'm partial to coffee. Not all of my clients are, so we can always work around and figure out what their thing is in the morning, but kind of like morning routine.
Mhm.
So me personally, I'll either do a couple of squats or like a good morning, no weight or anything like that, as my coffee's grinding.
No, there you go.
So it's just finding little spots in your day that you can just combine some sort of an exercise.
Oh, yeah. Finding that like a trigger basically for the habit that you want to create.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah. So it's leaning into whichever one's a little easier for them at the time, and then building the small things on the other side.
Yeah, that's a very sensible approach and something that I think that we find all the time with people. They want to just do the all or nothing, and that ends up being that's exactly what you get. You get all of it for maybe a couple weeks, and then you get nothing for months and months, maybe even years, until you try
Yep.
to do all of it again.
And that's so many people that come in and be like, it's everything. I want to meet you with you 5 times a week. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You haven't been working out. You haven't been working out at all. You want to meet with me 5 days a week? We can. I'm more than happy to talk with you 5 days a week. But we're not going to work out that much.
Yeah, no,
We're not working out, 5 hours a week. We can talk about diet on one day and we can do our workout on one day, or, depending on something like that. But it's typically, okay, we're not going to meet 5 days. We're going to start with a day or 2 days, see how that works in a schedule. And then, that sustainability. Are we looking for this for that short term, like has worked for you in the past? Or is this something that you're looking to do for a lifetime? I don't show up at the gym every day and do the exact same thing. It's a sustainability thing. It's a dedication to myself. And those are the types of things that that I do want to instill with my clients, is it's not just for a period of our life that we're going to be doing this. We're looking to build those habits, those sustainable feelings that we can do for our lifetime. So as we do continue to age, one of my other things that I tend to tell people is I feel so much better now at the age of 40 than I ever did at the age of 20. You know, it's so much
preach.
easier
There you go.
getting down on the floor and getting up. Easier.
Oh yeah.
And I want to make sure that's something that my clients can do throughout their lifetime too, as they have kids or grandkids, being able to fully enjoy that life with them. I want to talk with them and work with them and help understand the importance of the lifestyle and having that start from the inside coming out, and how that over your lifetime just builds and compounds on itself.
Oh yeah, and that just speaks back to the sustainability of everything. I know that doesn't sound sexy to people, but when you think about it, here we are. We're at the taping of this episode. We're the week of Thanksgiving when people tend to overindulge, but they will they blame it on the holidays of why they completely fall off and they have to start over again as of the first of the year. But if you are already incorporating these practices, you can dial it back because of everything going on, and you're not going to see much of a difference. You're not going to progress or anything. You're not going to be hitting any PRs or losing those last 10 pounds maybe, but you already have those sustainable approaches so that this time of the year isn't going to completely throw you off, and you don't do the whole yo-yo or anything that's just disruptive like that. So having people start thinking about that's not just about getting ready for the summer. This is about sticking with it all throughout the year. And then, as you were saying, well into your years as you get older. And same thing, I've had joint issues since I was 6 years old. I feel better now at 41 than I did in my 20s. I was freaking out about going into my 40s because of how much I hurt in my 20s. Now I feel great. It's because, and back in my 20s, I was out like jogging by the lake. I was nearby a lake and I thought it was beautiful. And so it actually got me into jogging. So I'd be jogging 4 miles a day. I'd still like have a little bit of belly fat on me though. I was never seeing much change in my body. And then I was hurting all the time. And then now, as we've got a good friend of ours. I'm probably gonna pick on him a lot during any of these episodes, but I'm sure he's never gonna listen to these things. He'll be like,
he's missing out.
Yeah, and he is. And I've already tried to work with him at one point, and I kicked his ass with a pair of bands. Oh, he's one of our favorites. But he'll complain about just how old he is and all these things about being old. He is 7 months older than I am. 7 months. I'm like, buddy, it's how you don't take care of yourself. But you could just see like the side by sides of people like us in our 40s versus people in their 40s who have not taken care of themselves. And it's very, my heart goes out to them. If only they would hear the message. And also, again, know that it's very sustainable, like you said, and going with your approach of let's just start off slow. And it doesn't have to be all out 5 days a week. We can make a lot of changes just a couple days a week, 2-3 days, whatever. And then, of course, changing the nutrition around that. But again, very powerful message. It's not the sexy message that everybody wants to hear, but the results are sexy.
Right? It starts from the inside out. I don't know how long I spent at the gym, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to be 180 pounds my entire life. Like, this scale doesn't move. Whatever. I'm going to kept going to the gym, kept showing up, doing my thing. But until I started paying attention to my diet and started to work through some of the other imbalances and things that were going on in my body, all of a sudden I'm like, wait, the scale does change. It actually had to do with what I was eating.
What?
It was what was going on the inside. That was the problem. You mean everything that goes in my mouth is actually building my body? Great. Now I get it. So yes,
it's the things that now that we see it, we can't unsee it, and we just have to move on and forgive ourselves for not knowing what we didn't know then.
Exactly. And work on getting people aware of it earlier.
Absolutely. Same thing as you, where I was doing everything I thought I was supposed to be doing and just nothing was ever changing. But it's like I just didn't know any better. I finally had a friend of mine who was a coach, and I hired her on for a little bit a few years back. But I went to her and I'm like, I am so frustrated with my body. I'm stuck at this one weight, but I can't seem to make any changes in my body. And she goes, I can, without even talking to you, I already know what you're doing wrong. What is it? She goes, you're not eating enough. I'm like, what? What? And then she, so yeah, I hired her for about 2 or 3 months, and I saw the most change in my body that I'd seen in years because she had me increasing my calories and we dropped all the cardio, a little minimal, like maybe 10 minutes or something at the end of the session, that kind of thing, just because I was still being resistant to not doing it.
As a coach, you have to give, if they ask, like, you have to find that balance. If you really think you enjoy this, we'll keep it in and see how it works. You got to let your clients find a little bit of their own journey as you guide along the way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you want them to really really buy into it and trust you, then and it turn out too is half the time I'm like, nope, I'm done. I just worked out. I'm done. I don't want to do any more work. So she knew what she was doing there. Okay. So to change gears to just a smidge, we were talking about, or at least, the notes and stuff that we were going back and forth with, you were discussing how important it is to not be afraid of change, that to change up the routines. And then people making the comment about like how you're not like everybody else kind of thing, and just like really embracing that, and that the opportunities really lie in that change. And so, where was that a shift in perspective that you had, or was that something that kind of came about as you were doing some of those self-evaluations and making this big change in your life?
Yeah. So the whole being different and starting to work through change, it's something that can be, or it just is. It's scary to think about changing something that was part of you or that you were for so long. When my husband got sober, I as well quit drinking, which was a piece of my life. But at that point, I was starting to recognize and realize how it was making me feel. Not only the emotional roller coaster being out with somebody who was active and using and all of those types of things, but if I was to have a drink or two or whatever, I would wake up not feeling good. Like my head would hurt. I wouldn't be able to do the same things the next day that I wanted to do. And that just wasn't enjoyable for me anymore. I started to question why. Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I doing this to my body? It's because everyone else around me is doing it. I go out and everybody's having a drink, and they're like, "Oh, have one. Here's one," whatever. So just being with everyone, I'm like, "Okay, sure." But then there was like a light switch that kind of went on, and I'm like, I don't want it. Like that's not something I want to be putting in my body. It's not serving me anymore. It's not giving me the outcome that I want. So it's time for me to make that choice to be different than the people that I'm with or going out with. And it didn't mean that I couldn't go out with them. I just was having something different in my glass. And it was just time to accept and be okay with me being a little bit different, apparently. And if they wanted to still have theirs, that's fine. It's not a judgment or anything that I'm putting on someone else. It's just what I want to choose for myself. And that's another thing that I like to work with my clients on is typically you can go out with friends, and just because they're doing something or having, say, a dessert or a drink or something like that, for the most part, people are concerned about what they're doing. And if you're just say, no, I don't need that right now, and don't make a big deal about it. Just no, I don't want that. Not that I can't have it, but I actually don't want it. A lot of times
Mm,
it'll stop that additional like pressure that you'll get because
right.
it's not you putting that restriction on yourself, it's you making that choice. And that tends to garner a little bit different reaction from people. So then yeah,
Agreed.
typically you can just go along with your day and the interactions with the people, and that's the real reason that you're out with your friends anyways, is to have those conversations, communication, that human interaction, not the food that you're eating or the drinks that you're drinking.
Yeah, yeah, it's just what you're saying, that words do matter. If you were to say something out loud, talking to the listener, if you were to say something out loud like, "I can't have this piece of cake," and how that feels versus if you say, "I don't eat cake." It's something like that. How that changes. Now you have control over it. It's not a restrictive thing, and you can apply that to so many different things, but how you speak to yourself really matters. And saying things like, "I'm trying to quit smoking," saying like, "I don't smoke." It's these like little tricks that probably sound really like that just too simple. That's too simple. That can't possibly work, but it actually there's studies on these things. They're applied in therapy, behavioral change therapy, and it really does matter. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because same thing, I've been wanting to dial back on drinking. There's a lot of times where I go without for weeks or months even. But, anytime I start to feel like, maybe I'll have a glass of wine tonight, and be like, nope, I don't drink during the week. Okay. Like it's just like, it's a statement. I guess I don't. All right.
If you say so, it's truth.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's just those little things that you can interject into your life, and being okay with it. I'm okay being different than everybody else that I'm out with, or how you interact. All right, confession. On the way home, I may have gotten a little upset today at a driver, but typically when I'm out driving, if there's a car that decides to change a lane or whatever's going on. There's all sorts of things that you interact with when you're out on the roads and things like that. But trying to give the benefit of the doubt. So
Mhm.
you don't know what's going on in their life. They're not intentionally trying to piss me off. Like, they
Yeah.
weren't driving down the road and they're like, Ashley, I'm gonna be mean to you today. It's because it's you. It's not because it's me. They don't know me. Like, they're not intentionally doing anything like that. So being
Mhm.
able to give them the benefit of the doubt and just assuming they're a nice person, if we were to meet in the street or walking, whatever, we would likely be friends. Sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
yeah,
just giving that benefit of the doubt to people.
it's a good thing to note. Like, we are often very much different personalities, different situations. Who we are behind the wheel might not necessarily translate to who we are when we, are in social settings. And yes, there are many times where, not proud of myself when I catch myself, thinking certain things, but at the end of the day, it seems to be so natural that we have a tendency to make it all about us. And if you can take that moment and do that reflection, what you're saying, it's not about me. They have their own things going on, and then that applies as well in like these social situations. If somebody's upset that you're not going to have the dessert or you're not going to have of the beverage or whatever, that it's your personal preference, but people will often see that as a mirror back on themselves, and that they think that you are judging everybody. Again, everybody will make it about themselves. They think that you're judging them for wanting to do those things, when it's like, no, really, I don't eat cake because I've never liked it. And really, and I know I'm weird, but I've never really liked it. But and then the sugar rush that comes with it, I'm sensitive to my blood sugar, and so I just don't like it. But people will often assume that I'm just trying to be this health nut, which also that's another conversation of, let's make being healthy not this taboo thing.
Right? I'm not I'm not doing this to restrict myself. You should see how much I eat.
Right.
People are like, "Are you still eating?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm still hungry. I'm eating."
Right. When I was bartending, because I would work shifts where we only needed one bartender in there, and I would bring my food in, and I would just be snacking throughout the day, pick kind of a slower time, and I'd have to go off to the side and like shove it all in my face. But not many of the other bartenders, let alone any of the regulars who would be there all day long. That's a whole other conversation. But a lot of people weren't really good about bringing in food. They would often just like grab the chips, or maybe if they were being really healthy, they would grab the bag of beef jerky that was sitting there. But it wasn't a bar that was attached to a restaurant or anything. So I just have to bring in my own stuff. And so I'd be eating, but I got so much shit from people. Oh my God, you're eating again and you're so tiny. Like, I can't believe you're still eating. And it's like, yeah, because when I get done with work, I don't want to have like this major like binge episode when I get done, because I'm starving and I just don't care whatever I put in my face.
Right?
But yeah, the eating, if you're tracking your calories as well, like, but and not that everybody has to track or anything, but you realize just how much you actually do need to eat to support yourself, and that it can actually help with fat loss because, again, you're not binging.
That's a great point, Kalish. I don't require clients to track.
Okay.
It's not something that's for everybody. Like I said, I work with a lot of busy professionals. I was there. You don't necessarily have the time. It can
Right.
take time to do tracking, but I do strongly encourage and recommend everybody have a kitchen scale
Hmm.
and just starting to weigh and measure some things and putting it even in a tracking app just to actually see what that item is. You don't have to track your entire day, but tracking certain foods, seeing what you are actually intaking in a day, just so you get a better idea of what a serving looks like. What's
Right.
4 ounces of meat? What's 6 ounces of meat? How do I feel eating this amount versus that amount? Just those small little things, not doing the full-fledged everything that I'm putting into my mouth, but just starting to become aware of those things that you do eat,
Oh
maybe
yeah.
more regularly.
Oh yeah. And yeah, so good. The amount of people I come across who way underestimate how much protein they're getting in. It's amazing. I will be like, "Okay, let just take some pictures. Let me see what you're having." And again, it's it's not because I weigh everything out all the time, but I did it for long enough that now I can at least eyeball it for a client. So they, as we're just kind of introducing it to them. And every time the protein is so low, but it seems like they think that just because they're having some protein, some form of protein at each meal, that they're eating a lot of it. No, you're eating it often, but you're not eating a lot of it.
Right.
So I agree. Getting that scale in and so you can really like it, I'm sure for your clients that's just like a big eye opener. What do you mean that wasn't enough of this? Or what do you mean I'm having too much rice or pasta or
Right.
whatever?
Yep. Those are all things that are important to just start being aware of. What order you're eating your food in,
Oh yeah.
prioritizing that piece of protein that you're eating versus, the pile of rice that's on your plate.
Mhm.
Those types of things. And I guess we'll call it a public service announcement for the upcoming holiday that we're
Yes.
coming into. You might want to prioritize some of the protein that's on the buffet table or the dinner table before taking in all of the carb heavy items. I'm not
Mhm.
saying don't eat them. Maybe you only get them once a year and it's your grandma's favorite stuffing that she ever makes or cranberries or whatever it is. Don't restrict yourself from having some of it, just making sure that you're getting that protein item. So some of that turkey or duck or whatever it is that your family has for a protein, make sure you're making that a little bit of a priority or a
Mhm.
big priority before starting to pile on all the carb heavy sides and then the desserts that follow. Pick your
Yeah.
favorites.
Yeah, that can't be stressing up because just how many people don't understand that at all. That just that simple trick, eat the protein first, and then you're not, overstuff yourself, so to speak, with the other stuff. You're just you will find that you're not as hungry for it. You can still what's lovely is that you will still eat it and enjoy it, but the satiety signals kick in. And it's not one of those situations where you overeat before your brain recognizes that you're overeating and then you feel miserable afterward. I've found that you eat the protein first and it starts to kick that society signal in. And then as you start to eat that favorite food, carb heavy thing, you get a few bites in and you're like, nope, don't want to do it anymore. And it's before you get too much in there. And now you're like walking around needing to unbutton your pants and and feel like, you know, taking a nap or you just don't even want to talk to anybody because you're just feeling miserable.
Exactly. And then you're disconnecting from everybody where
Yes.
that's what we want to avoid. Both
Yeah.
in the whole holiday season that we're coming up to. There's all kinds of different events that you're gonna be going to, from your work stuff to friends that you're gonna be hanging out with. There's a lot of food-centered things that are coming up in the next month or so. Just
Mm.
good things to be aware of, what you're intaking and how that's going to allow you to enjoy the rest of the evening.
Yeah, definitely. Well, all right, Ashley, it has been such a pleasure to have you on here. You have so many great tips, tricks, lots of wisdom that we went over that you shared. I so appreciate your approach to everything. We're on the same page, which is why we drive so well and why we've been able to connect. So it's definitely a refreshing conversation to have with people who get it and that are out there breaking through the noise of the internet and helping people in a very meaningful, sustainable way. So again, I appreciate you so much taking the time and coming on here and sharing this information with our listeners. I'm sure that they are going to get a ton out of it. And just to wrap it up, I want to invite you just to share where people can go and find you, start following you. I believe you have the Instagram page, you have a website. So I'd love to have you drop them right now. And I'll put them in the show notes as well.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Kalish. Yeah, so it is going to be, my website's going to be nutritionfueled.com. And for Instagram, I'm going to be at Coach Ashley _NF. So that's where you can find me online. Drop me a message, say hi, check out any of the content. Just happy to help. I'm really passionate, really enjoy being able to interact with my clients and anyone else on out there who is on a wellness, fitness, health journey and needs a little bit of extra support. It's really what fuels me and is my passion. if you get me in a corner or talk to me, I'll go on for days. So I just love it.
Oh, so good. And again, thank you for coming on here. And yes, go look her up. You need more good information in your feed. Get away from all the other crap that's out there. Get some people, teach the algorithms that you actually want to hear science-backed information and tips, and get away from those fitfluencers who don't know what they're talking about. No hate, just the reality.
No hate, just saying.
Just
I like to
saying.
have fun on Instagram. So go check it out.
Absolutely.
Let me know what you think.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. You take care. Until next time. Thank you so much for being here on True Grit. I truly appreciate it. If this episode sparked something in you, share it, subscribe, or leave a quick review. It helps more people find these conversations. For more ways to connect, head to true-grit.fitness or come say hi on Instagram at true.grit_bold.wellness. I'll see you next time with more stories, lessons, and a little bit of grit.